My mom didn't just ruin my life, she paid people to help her do it. Yeah, you heard that right. While I was out there trying to make real friends, she was out here cutting checks like she was casting for a reality show. And trust me, the drama didn't stop there. What happened next? Well, let's just say no amount of money could fix the mess she made. So, my name's Ethan, I'm 22 years old, and here's the deal. I've never been cool. Like, ever. Middle school? Man, that was pure hell. I was that awkward kid, you know? The one who never knew what to say, always standing there like a deer caught in headlights while everyone else seemed to be fluent in the language of popularity. I was invisible to anyone who actually mattered, unless I was tripping over my own feet or dropping my lunch tray. Yeah, that guy. But here's the weird part. Somehow, I always had friends. Like not real, close-knit, ride-or-die types, but a group of people who, for some unknown reason, always stuck around. It was bizarre, honestly. I didn't question it, though. Why would I? I thought I'd just lucked out. Like, I was the universe's pity project, and people just tolerated me. Then came 7th grade. That's when things got even more confusing. Jake, the so-called leader of our group, was one of those dudes who had everything going for him. The looks, the charm, the ability to throw a football without making a fool of himself. Basically, everything I wasn't. One day we were just hanging out, and curiosity got the best of me, so I asked him straight up, "Dude, why do you even hang out with me?" Jake just laughed, like I'd told the funniest joke in the world. "You're cool, man," he said, flashing that easygoing smile of his. Me? Cool? Yeah, right. I knew better. There was no way I was actually cool. I mean, I could barely talk to people without stuttering. Fast forward to high school, and nothing really changed. I still had that same random group of people who didn't even seem like they belonged together, let alone with me. It was like a mashup of personalities that made no sense, yet somehow they all kept inviting me to hang out. I wasn't part of the in crowd, but I wasn't an outcast either. I was floating in this weird limbo, just barely existing on the social radar. And let's be real, I wasn't doing myself any favors either. I had my fair share of epic fails, like the time at prom when I straight up puked on the girl I had a crush on. Yeah, that happened. I'd chugged way too much spiked punch and, well, let's just say the night ended with me bent over a trash can while she looked like she was about to crotte. Good times. But here's the thing. Every time I had one of those socially catastrophic moments, my friends were right there. Like they'd laugh it off, pat me on the back, and act like it wasn't a big deal. They were always super supportive, even when they should have been running for the hills to save themselves from my awkwardness. It didn't make sense. Not at all. Still, I didn't question it. I was just grateful, you know? Grateful that I wasn't eating lunch alone or getting bullied for being the weird kid. It felt safe, even though something in the back of my mind was telling me it was all just too good to be true. And, well, turns out I was right to feel that way. Because last week, I found the envelope. So I'm digging through my mom's old file cabinet, looking for some random paperwork she asked me to find. You know, the usual boring stuff. I wasn't even paying attention, just tossing aside old receipts, expired coupons, whatever. And then I see it. A plain white envelope with my name on it, written in my mom's handwriting. At first I thought, oh great, a sappy letter from mom, or maybe some cringy photos from when I was a baby. You know, the usual mom stuff. But nope, this was something else. Something way worse. I tear it open, expecting some lame birthday card, but what do I find instead? Checks? I blinked, confused as hell. Why is my name on checks? Did I inherit some cash or something? Nope, turns out these weren't payments to me. They were payments for me. I keep flipping through the pile, and each check has a memo attached to it. Stuff like payment for Jake's friendship or lunch with Matt and crew, and the absolute kicker, Ethan's invite to party. Let me tell you, it took me a second to process what the fuck I was looking at. I sat there, just staring at the checks, my brain doing somersaults trying to make sense of it. My mom, my sweet, caring mom, had been paying people to be my friends. Like actually shelling out cash to make sure I wasn't sitting alone at lunch or dying of awkwardness at parties. At first, I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was some sort of charity thing, helping out struggling families or something. But no, it wasn't that. It was exactly what it looked like. She was buying me friends. My entire social life was a goddamn financial transaction. My so-called friends weren't hanging out with me because they liked me. They were doing it because there was a paycheck involved. That realization hit me like a punch in the gut. Everything I thought was real. Every memory, every laugh, every inside joke, it was all fake. I was the puppet, and my mom was pulling the strings with her wallet. I could feel my blood boiling, my heart dropped into my stomach, and then it shot right back up into my throat. I mean, how the fuck do you react to something like that? I thought I had friends. I thought I wasn't the loser I always feared I'd be. Turns out I was worse. I wasn't just a loser, I was a paid project. I lost it. I mean, fully freaked the fuck out. I stormed downstairs, checks clutched in my hand like evidence from a crime scene, ready to confront her. I found her in the kitchen, casually flipping through some recipe book like it was just a regular day. Well, not for me. I stormed in, slammed the envelope on the table, and glared at her like she'd just committed a war crime. "Explain this now," I growled, my voice barely holding back the rage simmering under the surface. Mom froze mid-page turn, her face instantly draining of color like she'd just seen a ghost. And honestly, she probably wished she had. For a moment, she didn't say anything, just stared at me with that wide-eyed, "oh shit, I'm caught" look. Like a kid with their hand in the cookie jar, except this wasn't cookies. This was my entire life. She swallowed hard, sighed like she was about to give me the birds and the bees talk, and finally opened her mouth. "Ethan, I just wanted you to have friends." Friends? Friends? You've got to be fucking kidding me. I stared at her, my brain doing backflips, trying to process what she just said. "You paid people to be my friends?" The words tasted bitter coming out of my mouth. Like, really think about that for a second. My mom was straight up running a friendship payroll behind my back. I wasn't a person to these guys. I was a job. And that realization, it hit me like a brick to the face. Mom looked at me, her eyes full of guilt. But that didn't make it any better. In fact, it made it worse. "Ethan, you were so lonely. I didn't know what else to do. I couldn't just stand by and watch you be alone." "Are you serious right now?" I spat, unable to believe what I was hearing. "You thought paying people to hang out with me was the solution? Like I'm some charity case you can throw money at and make everything better?" She flinched like I'd physically slapped her, but I didn't care. I was too pissed off to hold back. My entire life, every friendship, every single person I thought gave a damn about me, it was all fake. How do you think that makes me feel? I could see her eyes welling up with tears, but it didn't move me. Nope, not today. This wasn't about her guilt. This was about my world crashing down around me. All those times I thought I wasn't good enough for the cool kids. Turns out, I wasn't even good enough for the regular kids. My mom had to buy them for me. And that hurt more than I could ever put into words. She tried to explain herself again, her voice shaky. I didn't want you to be lonely, Ethan. I didn't know what else to do. You were so quiet, so isolated, and I was afraid. Afraid of what? That I'd grow up without a bunch of fake friends? Newsflash, Mom, you made it worse. I would have rather been alone than live in some sick, twisted fantasy where my so-called friends were just cashing checks with my name on them. I could see the realization sinking in for her, but it was too late. The damage was done. I wasn't her lonely little boy anymore. I was a 22-year-old guy who just found out his entire social life was one giant lie. I didn't wait for her to say anything else. What was left to say anyway? "I can't even look at you right now," I muttered, storming out of the kitchen, out of the house, and into the night. My head was spinning, my chest tight. What the fuck was I supposed to do now? The world outside felt cold, empty, and I had no idea where to go. I just knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going back home. Not after that bombshell. I was practically vibrating with anger by the time I made it to Jake's house. If anyone knew the truth, it had to be him. I mean, Jake had been my so-called best friend since 7th grade. We'd been through all the awkward stages together, first crushes, embarrassing gym classes, that time we both tried and failed to grow beards. I wanted to believe this was all some insane misunderstanding, that there was no way he knew about the money. As I stood at his door, my heart was pounding so hard I thought it might bust through my chest. I could barely breathe. I mean, what if he confirmed my worst fear? What if all those years of friendship had just been one long-running paycheck? My brain was screaming, "Don't do this," but my fists were already banging on his door. No turning back now. Jake opened the door, and for a split second, he looked genuinely happy to see me. Like nothing was wrong. Like we were just gonna hang out, grab some pizza, and play video games like old times. But I wasn't here for any of that shit. Before he could even say, "What's up?" I blurted out, "Did my mom pay you to be my friend?" Boom. Just like that. I dropped the nuclear bomb right there on his doorstep. His face shifted instantly. The smile faded, his expression went blank, and for a second he just stood there like a deer caught in the headlights. And that pause, that few seconds of pure silence, that was the longest, most painful silence of my life. Then he sighed, long and deep, like he was about to confess to a crime. "Yeah, dude," he muttered, not even looking me in the eye. "She paid us." Paid us? Us? I practically choked on the word. It felt like someone had just sucker punched me right in the gut. "What the fuck do you mean, us?" Jake finally looked up, and I could see the guilt written all over his face. "I mean, all of us. Me, Matt, Josh, even..." He hesitated for a second. "Even Sarah." Sarah? The girl I had been crushing on since, like, forever? The one I awkwardly tried to impress by pretending to like all the same indie bands she did? She knew too? They all fucking knew? My world was spinning. "So, what, you guys just took the money and..." "What, pretended to give a shit?" My voice cracked. I could feel the rage building, boiling inside me, ready to explode. Jake ran his hand through his hair, clearly uncomfortable as hell. "At first, yeah, it was about the money," he admitted. "But after a while, we actually started to like hanging out with you. It wasn't about the cash anymore, man. We became real friends." "Real friends? Are you fucking kidding me?" "Oh, so I should be cool with that, huh?" I snapped, sarcasm dripping from every word. Like, "Hey, Ethan, sorry we treated you like a paid intern for years, but it's all good now because we actually like you. Surprise!" Jake flinched, like he knew how much of a joke that sounded. "It's not like that, man. We stopped caring about the money. You're one of us." I laughed. I actually fucking laughed. And it wasn't because anything was funny. It was that kind of laugh you do when everything's so fucked that your brain just breaks for a second. "One of you? Dude, I've been a puppet this whole time, and I'm the only idiot who didn't know it. You think that's friendship?" Jake opened his mouth to argue, but I cut him off. "Do you even get how messed up this is? You were getting paid to tolerate me, to invite me to shit, to make sure I didn't look like a loser, and you're telling me that somehow, magically, it all became real?" I could see him struggling to find the right words, but nothing he could say was going to fix this. The damage was done. "You know what's worse?" I continued, my voice rising. "I thought you were my best friend. I trusted you more than anyone else, Jake. And now I find out you were getting fucking paid to be around me. How pathetic is that?" Jake's face fell, and for the first time, he didn't have some half-assed excuse or fake apology. He just stood there looking like a kicked puppy. "Well, congratulations," I said, my voice cold. "I hope the money was worth it, because this friendship, it's fucking done." I turned and walked away, my hands shaking with anger, my mind racing with betrayal. Jake called after me, but I didn't even bother turning back. There was nothing left to say, and in that moment, I realized I wasn't just losing my friends. I was losing the entire foundation of my past. Everything I thought I knew was crumbling around me, and I had no idea how to pick up the pieces. The next few days, absolute hell. I didn't leave my room, didn't eat, didn't sleep. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, trying to make sense of how my entire life had been one massive joke. My phone wouldn't stop blowing up with texts and missed calls. Jake, Matt, even Sarah. They were all trying to reach me, to explain, to apologize, but I didn't want to hear any of it. What could they possibly say that would make years of deception okay? Oh, sorry, bro, we were just pretending to like you for money, but now it's cool because we eventually kinda liked you for real? Yeah, no thanks. Every time my phone buzzed, I wanted to smash it against the wall. How do you even begin to explain something like this? I wasn't just some random kid they tolerated. I was their job. They clocked in and out of my life like I was some 9-to-5 gig, and they cashed their checks with my name on the memo. Pathetic doesn't even begin to cover it. I felt hollow. Like every single friendship, every laugh, every shared moment, it was all fake. Nothing real. Just cold, hard cash transactions. And the worst part? I didn't see it. Not once. I was so desperate to believe I wasn't some sad loner that I let myself get tricked into thinking I actually mattered to people. I wasn't even Ethan to them. I was that dude whose mom pays us to hang out. God, what a joke. Mom tried to talk to me a couple of times. She knocked on my door softly, like she was afraid of triggering me or something. I heard her voice from the other side, all shaky and apologetic, like she was about to cry. Ethan, can we please talk? Nope. Not today. Not tomorrow. Not ever. Just leave me alone, I snapped, my voice cracking, but I didn't care. I wasn't about to give her the satisfaction of some heart-to-heart where she got to justify her insane scheme. Like, how do you even begin to look at someone who single-handedly demolished your entire sense of reality? The one person you trusted to always have your back, and she was the architect of this whole fucked up mess. She tried again the next day, but I wasn't having it. Ethan, please. I didn't mean for things to go this far. I just wanted you to be happy. Happy? Happy? My life was one giant lie, and she thought I could just slap a smile on it and move on? I need time, I muttered through gritted teeth, not even looking at the door. Just give me space. I could feel her standing there for a moment, like she wanted to push more, but she eventually gave up. The sound of her footsteps fading down the hall was weirdly satisfying. Like, at least she was finally giving me something I actually wanted, distance. But even with her out of the way, I still felt trapped. My room had become this suffocating little prison cell, filled with memories that now felt cheap and fake. Every photo on my wall, every inside joke I thought I shared with my friends, it all felt tainted. I couldn't escape the reality that none of it was real. I wasn't real to them. I was just some pathetic project, a paycheck wrapped in human skin. And what hurt the most? I still missed them. The idea of them, anyway. The Jake I thought was my best friend. The Sarah I had a stupid, hopeless crush on. But they weren't those people. Not really. They were actors in this twisted little play, and I was the clueless audience who didn't know I'd bought a ticket. So yeah, I stayed in my room, ignored every call, every text, let them stew in their guilt while I tried to piece together what was left of my dignity. But honestly, at that point, I wasn't even sure I had any left. Cutting ties was brutal, but it had to be done. First up on the chopping block, Jake, obviously. I mean, how do you even start to fix something that's been fake from the beginning? You don't. You just set it on fire and watch it burn. So, I texted him. Straight to the point. We're done. Don't bother reaching out. That's it. No drama, no, let's talk about this. Just done. And yeah, it hurt like hell, but what hurt worse was knowing I'd been living a lie this whole time. Next came the others, Matt, Josh, and even Sarah. Each message felt like I was slowly ripping off a Band-Aid that had been stuck on too long. It's over. Don't text me. Simple. Cold. But what else was I supposed to say? Thanks for pretending to like me, now kindly fuck off? That was the vibe, but I figured I'd leave out the fuck part, trying to keep it classy, you know? And with each sent message, it felt like I was cutting off a piece of myself. These were the people I'd shared my life with. Well, more like shared my mom's money with, apparently. But still, to me it felt real. To them, It was all a paycheck. That realization was like swallowing glass every damn day. Once word got out that I was ghosting everyone, things got worse. The whole school found out about my mom's little friendship fund real quick. You know how high school is? Rumors spread faster than the flu, and mine was like the most contagious virus in history. Overnight, I wasn't just Ethan, the awkward kid trying to blend in. I was that guy, the one whose mommy had to literally pay for people to hang out with him. Everywhere I went, I could hear the whispers. People weren't even subtle about it, like they'd actually stopped talking the second I walked into a room, but you could still hear the muffled laughter and see the side glances. One time, I caught someone actually miming handing over cash as I walked past. Real mature, right? The hallway turned into this gauntlet of humiliation. People I didn't even know were suddenly looking at me like I was some freak show attraction. Oh, look, it's the guy whose mom pays for friends. Wonder what he's worth today. It wasn't just awkward, it was soul-crushing. I mean, yeah, high school's always been full of assholes, but now I was the target. The bullseye everyone had their sights set on. And then there was Sarah. Yeah, remember her? The girl I'd been head over heels for since forever? Well, apparently, she'd been in on it too. That one stung the most. Every time I saw her in the halls, she'd glance at me, like she wanted to say something, maybe apologize, maybe explain, but what was the point? I wasn't about to give her the satisfaction of thinking she could make it right with some half-assed apology. She was just as guilty as the rest of them. So there I was, 22 years old, a complete laughingstock, and officially the pity project of the entire school. It's one thing to be a nobody, but to be the guy everyone pities, that's a whole new level of humiliation. People weren't even bullying me out of anger or meanness. They did it because it was sad. I had become the symbol of failure and loneliness. Not exactly what I had in mind for senior year. It was like living in a nightmare where you're the punchline to a joke no one told you about, but everyone else is laughing. Every interaction felt fake. Every smile I saw was laced with pity. And the worst part? I couldn't escape it. There was no corner of the school where I wasn't that guy. No friend to lean on, no one to vent to. The walls were closing in, and I was suffocating under the weight of it all. In that moment, I realized I wasn't just a loser. I was the loser. The one no one would forget because my mom had ensured that I'd go down in high school history as the kid who had to pay for friends. I had to get the hell out of there. Like, immediately. Staying in that school? No fucking way. Every time I walked through those halls, it felt like I was walking around with a giant neon sign over my head that said, "Loser whose mom pays people to hang out with him." Yeah, no thanks. I wasn't going to be the school's punchline anymore. So I transferred. New school, new people, fresh start. I left all that bullshit behind. Jake, Matt, Sarah, the whole damn circus. It was like shedding an old skin that had started to rot. When I walked into the new school, no one knew me, and that was the best part. I was invisible again, but this time, it was on my terms. I didn't have to pretend, didn't have to smile and laugh at jokes that weren't funny, didn't have to wonder if the person next to me was secretly cashing in on my existence. It was just me. Alone, but in the best way possible. No fake friends, no bullshit, just the quiet. And honestly, it was freeing as fuck. For the first time, I felt like I could breathe. I didn't have to play some role in a twisted script I didn't even know I was part of. I was the writer, director, and lead actor in my own story now. And, weirdly enough, I liked it. Sure, it was lonely sometimes. Eating lunch by yourself kinda sucks no matter how much you spin it. But at least I wasn't surrounded by people who only cared about me because my mom was funding their social lives. Solitude was better than being a charity case. Way better. The new school was fine. Nothing spectacular, but after what I'd been through, fine was a fucking miracle. I didn't bother trying to make friends, didn't care about joining any cliques or impressing anyone. I just showed up, did my thing, and left. No drama, no nonsense. It was simple, and for a while, I thought that was enough. But there was still one loose end I hadn't dealt with. One person I couldn't just ghost and leave behind like everyone else. My mom. Yeah, You'd think after everything, I'd just cut her off completely and never look back. And trust me, I wanted to. Every time I thought about her, I felt this mix of anger and betrayal bubbling up inside me, like a volcano about to erupt. She was the reason my entire life turned into a sick joke. She was the mastermind behind the lie that had consumed my whole damn existence. But she was also my mom. And, as much as I hated it, I couldn't just pretend she didn't exist. I hadn't really talked to her since everything blew up. Sure, there were a couple of awkward moments where she tried to apologize, but I shut that down real quick. I wasn't ready to hear her excuses, and honestly, I wasn't sure I ever would be. But now, after leaving the school and starting over, I knew I had to face her eventually. I couldn't keep avoiding it forever. So, one day, I went home, walked through the door, dropped my bag on the floor, and found her sitting at the kitchen table, looking like she'd been waiting for this moment for weeks. She glanced up at me, eyes filled with a mix of relief and guilt, and I could tell she was about to start crying. "Ethan," she started, her voice shaky as hell. "Can we talk?" I sat down across from her, arms crossed, not saying a word. She looked like she was on the verge of falling apart, and part of me enjoyed that. It felt like she deserved to feel as broken as I had been for all those years. "I know I hurt you," she continued, barely holding it together. "I didn't mean for things to get so out of control. I thought I was helping. I thought I was making things better for you." "Better?" I scoffed, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "You paid people to pretend to be my friends, Mom. You turned my life into a fucking lie. How exactly was that helping?" Her face crumpled, and she started crying. Part of me felt bad, but not enough to stop. I had to get this out. I'd been holding it in for too long. "Do you have any idea what that did to me? I don't even know what's real anymore. My entire high school experience, every friendship, every laugh, every good memory, it's all fake. Because of you." She didn't try to defend herself. She just sat there, sobbing quietly, and it pissed me off even more. I wanted her to fight back, to justify it, to give me something. But instead, she just sat there, taking it all. And maybe that's what made me finally stop. I leaned back in the chair, staring at her. I wasn't sure what I expected to happen. Some big moment of clarity? Some huge revelation that would make everything better? Spoiler alert, it didn't come. "I don't know if I can ever forgive you," I said, my voice cold. "I don't know if I want to, but I need space. I can't deal with this right now." She nodded, still crying. "I'm so sorry, Ethan. I never wanted to hurt you." I didn't respond. I just stood up, grabbed my bag, and walked out. Again. Because that's what I needed right then. To leave. Maybe one day I'd be ready to hear her out, but not today. As much as I wanted to, I couldn't just cut her out of my life. Trust me, it would have been so much easier. Just walk away, erase her from my world like she was a bad memory, and move on. But no matter how much I hated what she did, she was still my mom. And that's the messed up part. You can't just delete family like some spam email. They linger, whether you want them to or not. But one thing was for sure. Things between us, they were never going to be the same. That ship had sailed, crashed, and burned a long time ago. I told her straight up, no sugarcoating. "We need space." She cried, of course. I mean, what else was new? The guilt was practically seeping out of her, and she just kept going on and on about how she was only trying to help. Yeah, thanks for the help, Mom. Really appreciate it. But I couldn't forgive her. At least not now. Maybe not ever. It was like she didn't get it. The damage was done. Every time I looked at her, all I could think about was how she turned my life into a damn puppet show, with me as the clueless lead and her pulling the strings. She wanted me to be grateful or something, but how could I be? She didn't just lie to me. She robbed me of everything I thought was real. So, I left, packed up my shit, found a job, and moved out. It wasn't glamorous by any means. I was living in this tiny, run-down apartment that smelled like it hadn't seen fresh air since the 90s. My job? Don't even get me started. It was the kind of soul-sucking gig you take just to survive. But for the first time in what felt like forever, it was real. No fake friends, no paid-off friendships, just me, on my own terms, trying to figure out how to exist in this fucked-up world without a safety net. It was tough, sure, but I was finally in control of my own life. That feeling, worth every ounce of loneliness. I kept to myself mostly. Didn't bother trying to make new friends or get close to anyone. The idea of trusting someone again made me want to laugh. Like, why even bother? Every time I thought about opening up to someone, all I could hear was that little voice in my head whispering, "What if they're faking it too?" Yeah, no thanks. But at least I knew one thing for sure. No more pretending. No more faking smiles or friendships built on lies. I'd rather be alone than live in some twisted fantasy where everything is a facade. And in the end, that's what I realized. Sometimes the people who are supposed to love you the most are the ones who hurt you the worst. They're the ones who blindside you, who think they're doing what's best, but they're actually just tearing you apart from the inside out. So, here I am, trying to piece together what's left of my life one day at a time. Will I ever trust anyone again? Who the hell knows? Will I ever have real friends? Maybe. But for now, it's just me, and I'm okay with that. Because after everything, one thing's crystal clear. No more fake shit. No more illusions. Just reality, as brutal as it is. And somehow, that's enough.